Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
This is the Art Vigil Show.
Art Vigil. Welcome to the Art Vigil Show!
Let's face it, this is not the worst thing you've caught me doing.
Undefeated out loud, baby. Everything is alright, baby. We on the road to riches, and you ain't getting no ride, baby.
Hey, welcome to the Art Vigil Show. In today's episode, I interview Corey, the CEO of Wildcard Sports. Corey is a professional gambler and a podcaster. We talk about how he got involved in gambling, his process to winning money, and his favorite bets to win. We also dive into his favorite picks for this weekend's NFL wildcard games and much more. I hope you enjoy it. Are you ready? Let's go. Hey, what's going on, Corey? How you doing?
I'm chilling. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Can't complain. The Dolphins actually made it into playoffs by the hair on the back of their neck. But
now, is that a good thing or a bad thing, though?
I think it's overall good, so we can say we've been to the playoffs since 2016 or 2016, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
But the same thing is happening with the Dolphins that happened in 2016. When Tannehill got hurt, we had a backup Matt Moore, and now it's 2023. Our Tua's out, although I'm pretty sure he can play, but that's a different discussion. And we have Skylar Thompson, maybe Teddy Bridgewater. But
interesting.
Yeah, well, at least we beat the Jets. Anyway.
Look.
All right.
You beat the Jets, but the spread was a little horseshit, I'll be honest. I feel bad for the people who bet Jets plus 3.5.
That was a bad beat, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Plus, I mean, our roster. Yeah, you guys had Skylar Thompson, but I mean, I would say our roster is definitely more depleted now.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, come on.
The Dolphins' offense our offensive line was basically hurt. All our tackles are out.
AVT's out. Mekhi Becton's out. We played our reserve O-lineman, actually. We played our backup O-lineman. And we had Joe Flacco in at quarterback. So no O-lineman, no starting running back. Like, come on.
All right. Sounds like you're
I wanted to lose that game.
You're a Jets fan making excuses. Well, that's fine.
I wanted to lose that game, though. No, I told you. I DM'd you. I was like, congrats on making the playoffs before the game started.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. All right. We can talk about the AFC East down a little bit later. Let's talk about you. Wildcard Sports.
That is right.
Why don't you give a little background about yourself, and we'll go from there.
So obviously, as anybody in the world, starts off degenerate gambling, essentially. People just go in and, they watch sports, as everybody almost does, and they go ahead think they could, bet on some of them, right? Obviously, betting culture especially, they plaster it all around everywhere. They'll plaster the lines everywhere during games and stuff like that. I know for like the UFC on top of it, they'll put it some betting lines that are interesting because like DraftKings sponsors a bunch of these sports, right?
Right.
Of course, like I got into it, just started betting, losing a bit every now and then, winning every now and then, but nothing really serious. I actually got screwed by some guy on Instagram of like he had this. It was very stupid and stupid on my end at least. But the guy goes ahead and has like his own book website essentially, and I deposited on it, won like a $6,000. It was like between $4,500 and $6,000. I can't exactly remember.
Wow.
Of a six leg parlay for the UFC. I bet $50 on it and guessed every single one right. It was actually, I remember the card it was exactly as well. It was when Francis Ngannou knocked out Stipe Miocic to win the heavyweight title for the first time. So it was that exact card. I bet on that one. I bet on the last 6 fights, the entire main card, and either the last prelim or the entire main card was 6 fights. It might have been one of those ones. But got screwed out of that guy. Was absolutely disgusted in it. Wanted to make my own after that. Wanted to redeem it because, dude, there are like so many fucking shitty people in the world. There's so many shitty people, especially in the sports betting world, because it takes advantage of probably one of the most vulnerable male population, mentally at least, just because you have people begging like for picks. They're a lot of them go into a degenerate mindset of gambling, and so I started making my own picks. Started running a system in which I do research by hand. I don't use some quote unquote tool that people say. I just use stat sheets. I go through everything. I go through scenarios. I go through lineups, etc. Past lineups, current lineups, different matchups. per sport. I do NBA, NHL. I'm starting to do NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB, UFC, MLB and UFC being my top 2 ones, and then soccer as well. And yeah, we after a year of like extreme consistency, go ahead. I go make this Discord, get a couple hundred people in it right now, like around 360, 370. And yeah, dude, it's been kicking off like 30 plus premium members right now. Had an unbelievable 2022, and we're gonna have an even crazier 2023. By the time UFC starts, actually in 2 days, we're gonna start getting hotter. Can't wait for March Madness. Can't wait for MLB. All that stuff.
When did you get into this?
About just straight up sports betting or the Discord?
Let's go with sports betting.
Sports betting about literally actually 3 years ago.
Were you even legal to bet? Again, you don't have to
No.
answer. You don't have to answer that in case the FBI or anybody's listening to us.
And
You already said no.
yeah, I did. I tried to cover it up a little bit. No, I mean, dude, like everybody, like I'd go on. I'd actually mainly use FanDuel Fantasy, which was legal. To be fair. So like once you're 18, you could go ahead and use that. But however, like at the time, yeah, I'd go help my cousin make bets and stuff like that. He'd go on his account and go ahead and make them, and I'd base it off of that. I'd put in a little bit myself, maybe, send him a little bit to deposit in for me, and he does the bets for me, stuff like that. But I got into it. I'd go onto the lines. I'd have the book downloaded. You don't have to be of age to have the book downloaded to go look at lines and stuff like that. So I do the research and stuff from there as well.
And what tools do you use?
So I did not necessarily any tools necessarily. I go ahead just use game logs from certain players. Like for example, for NBA at face value, for example, I'll go look at, let's just say, let me go look at a player right now. You have like Joel Embiid versus the Thunder, right? So they're playing, 76ers are playing in OKC. So I go check. The first things I check is who is the center, who is the opposing matchup for Joel Embiid. There isn't necessarily a stable center that you could call as a center for the Thunder, nor has that center been playing for a good amount of time. So I cancel the matchup outlook of it. I go look at Joel Embiid's stats on the road this season. I go look at his stats overall this season. I check his last 10, last 5, last 15, etc. And then I check the entirety of it. Because the entire game log for the season, I have to go look at it because I want to see how consistent he has been throughout the season as well as recently. Because either if I'm playing alternate lines, I want to see a consistent approach to that. I want to see a full-on consistency throughout the entirety of the season, not just recently. Whereas when I'm looking at lines, I want every single one of them, right? I want, like for straight bets, I want recency and I want overall. So I go check his game log. I check his game log on the road now because sometimes those are heavily different when you look at the entire game log versus just on the road versus just at home.
Right.
And then I end up going to check his stats against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then I go ahead and check. So that's like a little bit of the face value, right? I typically StatsMuse is probably the best website because you could do every single one of those to go into it. I usually do those all the night before, right? This is before most lines are out for NBA. Any other sport, however, like those lines are out very, very quickly. Even MLB, that it's a daily sport and it's very, very back-to-back, like 160 something games in the MLB season. Those lines are even out faster than the NBA because they'll have their pitchers scheduled and they already know who's going to be batting that day, and they'll obviously designate those injuries very much clearer than the NBA does. So NBA is kind of the more unpredictable one, but that's typically what I do the night before for NBA for face value picks. I'll type those all down, get those all listed with my notes. I'll have a maximum number listed on the over that I'd be willing to play because I typically know the lines for almost every player. Like Joel Embiid, I put it around like 32, the max I'll have. And he ended up having a 32.5. So it was like it's very, once you do these lines repeatedly on an everyday basis, you understand how much like how each person's line is going to be at, like how many points, how many rebounds, how many assists. You typically have the understanding. So I'll have that number put up the night before. I'll send it out to the premium and they can see like my early look at it, but I tell them not to play it, of course, because you want to wait for me to get the official picks out. Then I go into the deeper dive the next day when the lines are fully released. I could dive deeper them into much deeper into them. I could actually see the injury reports and stuff like that, little updated, etc.
Now, do you have like a Notion or an Excel spreadsheet that you put all this information into, and then like something that pops out a quality score or a score that, okay, I believe this is going to be 60%, 70%, 80% good, or how do you work that?
So for individual players that I've consistently been going around, like for the NBA, I'd have an understanding after doing them for like a certain amount of time, so I'll know the percentages. I'll also type them down every single time, like you said, on a spreadsheet. or I'll just have them down like on the side. I have my iPad. I'll write stuff on like good notes on an iPad or something like that. Pretty simple. Get those percentages down just so I know how often they hit them. But I do like going into the stats myself, regardless of those percentages, which is why I don't write them off too much. If I did James Harden yesterday and he plays today, I'm still going to go look right back at James Harden the next day because I want to evaluate it fully for the matchup that he's going to have against this next team, and then as well as whether it's on the road or at home, and depending on who he's playing as well. So I do want to go right back into looking at those stats the same way, even those basic stats that don't have anything to do with matchup, like game log and the home and away games. Like I want to look at those every single day. As tedious as it might be, it's what's gotten us the money and what's gotten us the consistent unit upwards every single time.
Got it. So do you do more prop bets? What type of bets are your favorite?
I do probably a good sum of everything, honestly. Prop bets are the best ones for NBA. NBA doesn't necessarily have the greatest track record for like spreads and money lines and stuff like that. However, I will go into those every now and then. Once I find a perfect one that I really do love, I'll parlay it or I'll play it straight up. It depends on what it is. And we've hit those consecutively and consistently in the Discord, of course. However, like totals as well for NBA, like first quarter totals, third quarter totals, totals in the game overall, stuff like that. Team totals, even those are decent. But mainly player props for NBA. As for NFL, I'll do player props, game lines, totals, alt prop parlays, different types of parlays that typically get to even money. I'll have some at your own risk ones where they get into much higher odds, of course, but nothing official that I play because we want to keep it like smart, legitimate betting for the premium picks and that for the official premium picks at least. And then for other sports like the UFC, there are props and there are the money lines that we'll always go into. We'll go and MLB always props and game lines so every sport is typically everything. However, the NBA is mainly player props, and then I'll have some of the other ones every now and then. But the player props are probably the best thing to go into NBA.
Got it. How often do you are you putting up bets?
It's a daily thing. Like it's consecutive every single day.
So is this like your job, your life? This is what you're meant to do?
It's what I do. I sports bet and sports bet to make my living. And then obviously I have the Discord. I don't really charge that much in the Discord just because my whole objective is, dickheads. Are we allowed to swear? My bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dickheads.
I normally have a beer, but it's early in the morning. So
yeah, that fucking piece of shit that screwed me over a couple years ago when I was a kid. Like I didn't know any better. I mean, that was $6,000 I could have definitely used at the time, right? So
right.
Especially like as a 19-year-old. So there's no reason for me to ever charge somebody an extraneous amount so they can think like, oh, this person's just trying to get a money grab off of us. No, I'm not trying to get a money grab. I do spend hours and hours and hours every single day, probably 5 to 6 hours trying to get these picks done for everybody and trying to get them in a very serviceable amount of time for everyone. I just don't want to do it for free, obviously, because I mean, as I talked to you the other day, like there is no work without incentive. There is no good work, at least, without incentive, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and my own incentive, of course, is to do the bets for myself. However, running this entire Discord with 370 plus people and attending to in premium, especially much more particularly to everybody else. So I offer obviously a lot of my time to everybody in that Discord, especially in the premium who has any questions or has anything that they really want me to dive deep into. I will take my time, sit hours with them to do it. I have a voice chat in the premium that I go ahead. If they want me to explain something in there, I'll jump in there and talk to them about it. So yeah, it's a daily thing. It's my living. It's what I'm literally living off of right now, the money I'm making sports betting.
Got it. So what's the 5-year plan, if you have one, for Boncore Sports?
5-year plan. So my objective, I would love to have probably, well, numbers wise, I can't really project any numbers. I can go look at our last year. We were up well over 1,000 units last year. However, we do play very high volume, so it might be a little bit different to what people are used to. I play very high volume because it's what I do for a living. This is literally, I play several bets because I'm looking at the numbers, and these are the things I literally love it. High percentage hit rates and all the scenarios that are presented there. I love those bets, and that's why I go high volume on them. But
so are your units $10, $5,000,
so
$2?
Mine are $100.
Okay.
But that's because I have a very large bankroll. And it's not like to brag.
Sounds like bragging. I don't know about that.
Not meant to. but it's trying to raise like a little bit of awareness for those people who are coming in. Do not play with an extraneous amount of money that you cannot afford to lose. You never want to go ahead and go into sports betting and try to win, not just to bet for fun. Actually try to win with a unit size that if you lose a day or two or you have a bad week or so, that you're going to be worrying about what you're going to eat the next day, or you're going to be worrying about how you're going to make a certain payment. You never want to put yourself in that situation with sports betting.
Wait, I thought gambling, I'll win every single time. No?
That's what everybody thinks when they're in there. James Harden has a triple double. Why didn't you bet on him? Because everything said he wasn't going to get a triple double, and he didn't even hit his point line. Why didn't you bet on the Celtics versus the Thunder? Well, they're the best team in the NBA, and the Thunder are one of the worst teams in the NBA, and the Thunder don't have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Why don't you at least bet the Celtics props? Well, they all hit their unders, and the Celtics lost by 40. Yeah.
So besides listening to you or joining your Discord, which is Boncore Sports, right?
Yep.
All right. So if you're on Discord, or you can download it and join just like a regular community.
Very typically, yeah. Links in our all social media bios, Boncore Sports. So you just go to those. Discord links should all be there, activated and updated, and you just click on them, join. Very simple.
So on
that
LinkedIn,
gets you to the free side.
Got it. So on LinkedIn, is your profile say professional gambler?
I don't have a LinkedIn. I don't really see a purpose in ever having a LinkedIn, to be honest. Like, I guess
you want to stay under the radar.
Not necessarily under the radar. I mean, to be fair, I post daily on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I wouldn't if I was under the radar, I definitely would be doing that. But no, I am pretty public. I put my voice out there literally, like it's all there. I don't do faces because there are some crazy people in sports betting that you lose a day and they will think you're out to get them, and they will try to do whatever they can to find you. Some people are insane, and I'm not really trying to put my life, my family's life, or anybody's life at risk, right?
Wait. Seriously?
Dude, the degenerate gamblers who are, like I said earlier, it's one of the most vulnerable vulnerable male community, at least. And there are definitely a lot of females who bet as well. I'm not trying to say otherwise, but at least for the male community that I know of, this is obviously from my experience, and not just experience, but obviously knowledge to it. One of the more vulnerable male populations, and a lot of these men are gambling as a last resort. That's the problem. I can't take control of everybody's situation, right? I could, and I'm not trying to give advice or gambling advice or anything. None of this is gambling advice, of course, but there are a shitload of people who will come into the Discord and they cannot afford to lose it. And they'll think I am a god who is essentially playing like NBA 2K to make these players shoot these baskets and get them in. And then they blame you for missing a certain day or so, as if you're supposed to be winning every single bet and every single day. They're just at the lowest of lows, and sometimes common sense doesn't really hit people at that state. I've been at the lowest of lows as well. Thankfully, when I was younger and not really capable of doing anything stupid.
Right.
But yeah, so it is a scary world when you put your face out there and you're charging people on top of that, and then they're betting on top of that, right? So that's why I would never put my face out there. However, like my voice is on it. My voice is on all the TikToks. And I talk to people repeatedly. I talk to people in the Discord live on voice anyway.
So these degenerate gamblers, why aren't they doing their own research? If they're
because I mean, in the coinage of the name, it's degenerate gamblers, right? And they'll just bet parlays and stuff like that, and they want to win big, win fast now, right? They're in very desperate situations. Whereas, I mean, if you're in that very, very desperate situation like that, you should not be really sports betting at all, especially not a good amount of money. If you're really desperate for money, like I'm not trying to like be a dickhead about anything, but you could work for, like, you literally go work at a local Target, not really many qualifications to work at a Target, $15 an hour or a Kroger, and you work maybe like several hours a week. Like, you're going to be able to get a very hefty amount of money you would never think you'd have in your bank account if you're that desperately low in income. And it's like, those are the types of things. Go get a minimum wage job real quickly and build yourself up a little bit, because you do not want to put yourself in hell trying to bet on somebody else to do something for you, right?
Right. Wow. So do you have any examples of somebody yelling at you or cussing at you or trying to find you?
Some people are a little bit immature, of course, and it is harder to deal with them. A little bit more of the some of my recent ones have been a little bit more on edge, but the ones that have been here for a while, even the ones that haven't even been in premium for a while, that have just been in the Discord in a while, and they've seen like daily recaps and stuff and the numbers we hit, like they understand the consistency in this Discord, right? And so if we're having like an off day, we've only had 3 losing weeks, maybe 4 losing weeks in 54, 55 total weeks that we've been doing this. So
that's pretty good.
It's been incredibly consistent. And like you just, so yeah, there are going to be some very immature guys, and obviously some of them might be minors and they might not even be saying anything, right? I started betting at a younger age. Most people actually do coming into college off of high school. They just go into those things and they start betting on those apps off somebody else's social security. And some of them, you won't even know which ones are in your Discord, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Wow. So I don't think you answered the question. Where do you think you'll be in 5 years?
Oh yeah, my bad.
It's all good. Hey, we're just having a conversation, dude.
Yeah. I want to have like 2,500 people in by then. We have 375 right now. However, I got like the last 100 in a month or so. Just off of starting the TikTok. I think the more successfully we build it, the more people will get into there. I think 2,500 people. At least on the free side overall, or just in general, in the Discord is pretty solid in 5 years. And then maybe in premium, 100 people. So just in 5 years, that's honestly not even too high of an expectation per se. It's another 60, 70 people in 70 people in premium in 5 years, and then another 2,200 in the Discord overall. I don't think it's bad.
So how are you marketing? How are you putting Boncore Sports out in the marketplace?
So on a daily, I will, obviously the incentivized thing for people, what most incentivize them is seeing a free pick on something, right? And then you'll explain it, you'll give the statistics, and it kind of lures them in and be like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They look at their research, they dive deeply into these things. This is why they like these things, stuff like that, right? So
you're like a drug dealer. You give here's a little bit of crack.
Here's a gram. Here's a gram for free.
Yeah, here's a gram for free. I'll see you in a couple days.
Yeah, and if you like it, I'll give you a discount on the next. No, fuck's sake. Yeah,
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel you. It was funny though. Like for example, I'll post a little bit of content on TikTok, but mainly just the free pick of the day. So yesterday, for example, John Morant over 27.5 points. He hit it in I can't even remember the stats, but it was like 3 of his last 4. His last 3 home games straight, 5 of his last 7 home games against the Spurs. He hit it in 4 straight, and 5 of his last 7 against them or something like that. Been extremely consistent, and on the road, he's been very. Was it on the road or home? I think it was at home. He's been very consistent. 27.5 points for John Morant was a ridiculous line. It was very, very stupid by the books. He hit 30 plus in the game. We cashed it. So I put that out on all platforms: Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Twitter and TikTok are the 2 best ones because people it's a much better algorithm per se, right? So people could just look up on Twitter a lot more than they do on Instagram. They go look up like free pick of the day or NBA free pick, stuff like that. They'll literally look that stuff up. And obviously we'll come across that when they go up to it. That's why it gets a good amount of views. Instagram, it has to hit some sort of thing, some sort of explore page, and then it pops up a good amount more, but it's much scarcer on Instagram. I just use Instagram more to go on. I have BR Betting, FanDuel Sportsbook, DraftKings Sportsbook. I just have their notifications on every time they post. I just click on the notification. I just say, anybody want to join a sports betting Discord, links in our bio. I don't even try to sell it. It's just a free, just to cut into the free side. And then TikTok, obviously, I just post the videos, and that's a very solid algorithm.
So if somebody was aspiring to be in your field, what would you tell them? How would they get started? Like Art wants to be Boncore Sports. What would be the first step?
Well, first, I would never immediately start it off rip. I would probably take at least a year to get a consistent showcasing of numbers for yourself. So in lighting, on top of all of it, you want to have it for yourself because obviously you want to start making the money out first. Second, you want to go ahead and actually offer credibility to people. And when people start calling you out on your shit, you could at least have the credibility in front of you, right? Rather than you just starting it and just talking out of your ass. At one point or another, there's going to be a question you can't answer.
Right.
And it will end up screwing you, and it will end up losing the entire thing, or it could screw you mentally. You never know. It's a very big mental game here. If you don't have patience or composure, I'm going to get into that right now, actually. Number 2, patience and composure are the number 2 things in sports betting. If you cannot be patient with a bet, if you cannot be patient with lines, and you cannot line shop, and you cannot take your time to go through these things, you just want to place the bet, that's going to lose you a couple more extra bets than you're going to ever want to lose, right? Similarly with composure, if you have a losing streak, you cannot just switch up if your system has been working fully. A week of losing is going to be annoying. 2 weeks of losing, you might want to start looking at it just a little bit. If you have a little bit more than that, then we're going to have to start looking at a system, right? Even if it's been consistent for a year or so. But if you've had that consistent year or two, and it's a very solidified understanding of it, you cannot just throw that all out the window, right? Off of a losing streak. You have to stay composed. You have to be okay with losing. And then 3, probably the most important thing is do not start with money that you cannot afford to lose.
Right.
You start it as a side hustle, essentially, right? You want to start it as a side hustle where you're not even worried about the money. It's just there. It's kind of like stocks in the sense where you're just putting money in on the side to where you do your research a little bit on it. And the difference between it, obviously, is stocks all go up and down, and you can pull your money out. And they actually have sports stocks, which I'm going to start getting into as well. They have stocks on players that you can get into. It's like this app called Mojo.
Yeah, I saw that. I love that idea. That's
It's
such a great idea.
I've been dying for it. It's genius. It genuinely is genius. And really good on them. Really, really good on them for making it. But yeah,
I think I'm pretty sure I'm on the waiting list
for Mojo.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get into it too. I didn't even know there's a waiting list, so I'll probably have to get into the waiting list.
Yeah, if you go to mojo.io or .com, I don't remember which one it was. You can
something like that.
Yeah. No, I saw them.
Yeah.
I belong to a lot of the betting newsletters and VC newsletters, especially in the sports technology. As you know, I'm the co-founder of Undefeated.live, which is
100%.
a sport app, free to play. And so I try to keep on understand what people are doing, the competition, some great ideas. And Mojo was the one I saw, and I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
I like this one.
It's beautiful. It's genuinely beautiful the way they put that up. It's amazing.
Yeah. Instead of going crypto, I'd rather do, actual.
Yeah. Something you know more of and something you could actually – the difference between crypto and stocks and stuff like that is you get to see what you're looking at, right?
Right.
With sports. And they could – of course, they're going to try to skew that one more so it's gambling. I think crypto and I think like stocks, if you invest into Apple and you invest in all these things, that is much riskier than it is to bet on a sports player. Obviously, you could say injury, right?
Right.
And shit can happen. But you could actually see it. You could actually get there's a much more intimate vibe for that, right? You could actually attach yourself to that player to understand how they play. You evaluate them correctly, and then you can put your money on them, see where they're at.
Yeah. What would be your first athlete that you would bet on?
Well,
don't say Mike White.
No. That's
That's an inside joke.
Yeah, it would have. It would have been Breece Hall, but he got hurt. I'd probably put it on probably Chase Young.
Chase Young from the Commanders,
Washington, because he's
Washington football team, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, from Washington, just because he's been hurt, and him coming back, he looked very, very solid. I don't know if it'd be the first. He's one of the first ones that popped into my mind. I don't know if I'd immediately drop down and put my money on it. I don't know. I probably need a bit of thought. Garrett Wilson's too high up, and he's on the Jets, and I want to make sure the Jets get an actual quarterback before ever putting something on Garrett Wilson. Oh, you know who I would do? You know who I would probably do because his price is probably relatively low. George Pickens.
Yeah, him and Pickett have a connection.
Yep,
they really
and Deontay Johnson's probably leaving the Steelers. He unfollowed the Steelers on social media. He tweeted out something. I can't say much, but stay tuned or something like that. So it's seemingly that Deontay Johnson is going to be out of Pittsburgh.
What is it with Pittsburgh wide receivers?
It's always something, right? They're probably one of the best drafting teams at wide receiver.
Yep.
They always get solid receivers.
I agree.
But it always ends up in it's always some type of behavioral issue, which is fine if they start producing, right? If you have an Antonio Brown type of season, can't complain, right? George Pickens looks phenomenal.
He does.
So, yeah.
He does. He really does. All right. So what's the free pick today, or have you announced it yet?
Haven't gotten to it yet. I can give a little sneak peek on my insight I actually look at I released some straights already on premium. I haven't really done anything since then. Let me look at these straights. Okay. So I think a line that was a little low. No, not low. No, okay, I'll do this. Jarrett Allen. That's probably what I'm gonna do. Jarrett Allen over 9.5 rebounds. His consistent either him or Evan Mobley. I'll just say that. Evan Mobley over 7.5 rebounds with Jarrett Allen over 9.5 rebounds. Their numbers against who the Cavs playing against the Blazers, numbers against Nurkic, numbers against Blazers, numbers on the road have been very, very solid and consistent. And when you look at them all paired up together, for these being a straight bet, it's very, very interesting.
Nice. Is there any professional gambler out there that you either A, follow or aspire to be, or are you just a one-of-a-kind guy?
I mean, if I call myself a one-of-a-kind guy, I'd feel like a piece of shit, I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, I thought I'd throw that out there just to see how you react.
You had to bait me. You had to. No, I feel like a complete dickhead if I fucking call myself.
Well, you already said you had a huge bankroll, dude, so we might as well just throw that out there, too.
That was in
I'm going to make you a T-shirt. Bankroll. That's it.
I got a
That's
big bankroll.
I got a big bankroll.
Exactly what I said. Put the line on it. What a shit on this Corey Boncourt guy is. No, I'm fuck. What was the question?
Do you follow any professional gamblers or aspire to be like one?
So, not necessarily. I was a part of a group. I'm still in it just for the UFC chats because the UFC chats are in there pretty cool. It's called LYBB. I'm giving them a free promo essentially. LYBB. They're pretty fun. I don't even think they're charging anymore though. I don't know how the system is for the sports betting. I know the UFC guy puts in a shitload of work and gets his sheets out. His name is Solo. He's pretty solid. He's a pretty solid dude. But other than that, I mean, that's really the only organization I've kind of looked at. But they're just a pretty fun group, more so than anything. I wouldn't say they don't really put out sports bets nearly as much, and I think looks like they're probably branching off to something new. You never know. Yeah, it's honestly
So this is all 100% your interest. I can't imagine you fell into this. Or maybe you did. Did you know in high school, college that you wanted to do this?
Oh hell no, not even close. It wasn't even within the. I was at university already. Like I just dropped out the year and a half ago.
Well, yeah. If you're making your type of bankroll, what do you need that?
Of course, yeah.
What do you need college for?
I already bought some real estate. What am I gonna like? I've got some investments already going. Like I told you, it's had to save my life for that stuff, right? And that's what it typically ruins people's lives, right? So, fortunate enough for it.
I've known you now for what, 4 months?
About
3-4 months.
Yeah,
I've done a couple of your podcasts. I'm on your Discord, and I see the hard work that you put into it. And I think that's something that a lot of bettors, including myself, go with gut, go with feel. They really don't do the work. And like everything you want to do in life, you have to actually do the work. No one's going to tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, I'm going to give you $1 million because of blah.
Nothing's free in life, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of gamblers are looking for that quick pick tip that's going to make them lots of money. And I see it, although in California where I live, it's not legal. I do know a lot of people that either A, have bookies or they're using offshore accounts to do betting. And it's, again, and I could be wrong. It just feels like they look at the line or they look at the prop and they go, oh, I think Tua will throw for 250 yards.
Yeah.
Or, I think Garoppolo will blah, blah, whatever the prop is. And granted, they're betting $5, $10, like 10 to win 40, 5 to win 20 or whatever.
Some of them bet big too, but
exactly. But they're not sitting there looking at the lines, looking at the data, looking at the home and away like you do. I actually think if you wanted to put your process down, you could probably sell it.
It's I don't know about that for sure, but I don't know. It'd be too complicated. And maybe I'm just being pessimistic about it. I think maybe you're right. I don't know. I just can't really look at it right now. Honestly, look, if I could ever sell like my thing away, I wouldn't really sell the Discord unless it's at like a ridiculous price that I'm like, yeah, I have no reason to decline that. But
Right.
yeah, it'd
No,
have to be something.
I'm talking about your process because
to make the bets.
I have a process as well. I obviously it's not as in depth as yours, but I look at little things like weather.
Yeah.
Especially, we're talking about NFL and soccer. I'll look at weather. Baseball, any sport that's outdoors, basically. You look at the weather, and then you look at previous games. Have they beaten the spread? The last 4 times away or at home, or there's a process that I try to go through. I don't honestly. Sometimes I wake up Sunday morning going, "Oh crap, I got to get my picks in," and I just go off Phil. And do I win those most of the time? No, I don't. If I don't do the work, as you've said, like I said, if I don't do the work, I don't do well, especially on picks. Now, do you do daily fantasy? Do you do fantasy football?
Yeah,
leagues?
So literally we have 4 leagues that will be paid out by the end of the month. Of course, I just want to make sure because I did collect it through Cash App and Venmo for the payment for the buy-ins. So I do want to make sure those get written off of taxes. So I'm meeting with my accountant soon for that so I can get everybody else paid. But yeah, we had 4 fantasy football leagues. We had 3 $50 buy-ins, 1 $25 buy-in. Wanted higher ones, but no one really was interested in it. Plus, the promotion wasn't as great as it could have been. So I needed to put on more promotion for it. And I think it's going to be much bigger this next year. We have 1 fantasy basketball league, actually. And I do daily DFS for NBA. Obviously, I do it for UFC when it's on, and NFL when it's on, and then MLB every single day when it's on.
Wow. You know what? I was thinking about doing, although on Undefeated Live we are doing a Pick'ems playoffs. I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about doing a private Pick'ems and have like $20, $100 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I wonder if I could. I mean, obviously I could still do it, but it's kind of late. Maybe I'll just do that for March Madness. Or, actually, I might do that for the Super Bowl. So I'll do a private Super Bowl.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
Pick, and then everybody just puts in whatever instead of doing squares or anything like that. But
yeah,
that's interesting. All right, so okay, where do they find you?
What do you mean? Like, where can they find Discord?
Yeah, where can they find Discord? Your Discord? Do you have Twitter? Do you have Instagram? I know you have all those things, but I know you don't have a LinkedIn, which makes sense.
It's on. I mean, to be fair, LinkedIn doesn't really draw in the audience as well for what we're doing, right? It's mainly people who are on very, very active social media websites like Twitter and TikTok and even Instagram, right? And Instagram, it's more so just the comment section in those sportsbook profiles. So like you'd find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It's at Boncore Sports, and that's all it is really. And you'll see the Discord link in our bio.
All right, and what's your winning percentage if you're willing, if you want to put that out?
We did talk about that the other day. I really wish I had actually done the percentage looks. The reason I have never gotten to them is because I put out daily and monthly recaps for units in what we end up pulling up, right? So you'll see if you go to our Discord, you could see the daily recaps and the monthly recaps, and you could just scroll up as much as you want. If you don't want to scroll up to every individual day, you can go ahead and go look at what's it called? The monthly recap, and you can see like the amount of units we've done per each individual month. I think we started doing those monthly recaps in March, and then as for daily recap, obviously you'll see like the actual photo of that day's bets, right? And then I'll even do the DFS recaps and stuff like that too. So you'll see like if that DFS lineup had hit that day or not.
So basically, download Discord or join Boncore Sports for free, and if you think the information is valid and you see all the winning, and I've seen it, it's pretty impressive. You can join the premium groups.
There are also premium reviews by premium members, right? So you can see the reviews at the top. Everything in there is accessible in the free side, just not the premium picks in the premium chat, right? But you could see like all the daily recaps, the monthly recaps, every type of recap, all the premium reviews. You have all the chats for all sports in the regular chat lounge, and then the free picks, of course. 3 free picks a day, one on social media, one on my podcast, and then one on what's it called? One in the Discord itself as well. But I do send the links for the podcast and the social media pick in the Discord when those are out as well.
Perfect. Well, let's kind of move on to some other stuff. Let's see here. I know, as you know, I'm a Dolphin fan, and I know you're a Jets fan. And there's been some firings over the last couple of days. LaFleur is no longer the offensive coordinator. And Austin Miles, which I didn't know he was the wide receiver coach.
Wait. Did I miss something?
Yeah, he got let go this morning.
Oh, you just made my fucking day. That's what I've been begging for. Good Lord.
Well,
Dude,
you don't like...
You know how bad I think he is? I think Zach Wilson could have given us a winning... I don't think Zach Wilson would have gotten benched this season had it not been for Mike LaFleur. I still think Zach Wilson is shit. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. I know this, being on a couple of your podcasts, that you think Mike White is a better quarterback than Zach Wilson.
100%. No. 100. Okay, wait. Talent-wise, no. As a quarterback overall, right now, yes, because Zach Wilson's head and his vision, horrible. It's just the mindset right now, and it's just the mental that Zach Wilson's in. It's so off. You can see in the interviews that they're giving him right now when they talk about the veteran quarterback. Just look into the guy is not there. Look into his eyes. He's so dead inside. He doesn't know what to do. His confidence is lost. All his confidence is lost, and rightfully so. To be fair.
Yeah. So Austin Miles is gone. Or Miles Austin, excuse me. He's gone. As you might not know this, but he was pretty decent wide receiver, at least for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, he's our wide receiver coach.
Yeah. What was that?
He's our wide receiver coach, Miles Austin.
Yep, he's gone.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
What did I miss? Did I really miss everything this morning?
I guess so. You're too busy looking at the picks and the lines and doing your research.
I was heavy on
Look at me helping you out there.
I had a couple meetings. No, you made my fucking day. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm just really hoping we send the right people.
Yeah. So who do you think they're looking at?
I don't know who they're looking at yet. I do know who I wouldn't mind. And some people might look at it as a recency thing and be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Nathaniel Hackett was the OC for the Packers, right?
Yep.
He's a pretty solid offensive coordinator. Not a good head coach in the slightest, right?
Nope.
We've already seen some coordinators not really be the greatest in at the head coaching position, similarly with Todd Bowles. He's not the greatest head coach. However, he's a very solid DC, right?
I guess. I don't know. They're Jets.
Although I might
also.
Yeah. although I want to add in though, Todd Bowles did go 10-6 with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback with the Jets.
Well, I mean, come on. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick, baby.
Ryan Fitzmagic's the GOAT.
He's a legend.
He was working with a very, very old offense. He was working with a very old Brandon Marshall, very old Eric Decker, a very old Matt Forte, but 10-6. Didn't make the playoffs, by the way, at 10-6. But
when's the last time the Jets made the playoffs?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I was
in the
born.
21st century, right?
I don't think I was born. Yeah, I do not think I was born.
Yeah.
No. My bad. It was 2010. Yeah, they made it to the AFC Championship.
That's right. They went back to back with Mark Sanchez.
Fumble Sanchez. Yeah.
But Fumble Sanchez. That's funny. That's funny. So Nathaniel Hackett would be your first?
I wouldn't say first choice, but it's just, dude. I mean, you just gave me the news right now, right? I just got shocked with it. I didn't.
Right.
I'm thinking like Nathaniel Hackett is a very decent OC. He just got fired. Frank Reich was the quarter. Those are, by the way, the two head coaches I was so heavily advocating to get fired in my podcast this season, because I just think they're better offensive play callers. I don't think they're really good head coaches in the slightest.
Right. Well, I think Frank Reich is interviewing for head coaching position, so he'd have to lose out on all those before he becomes an OC again.
Mm-hmm.
So the Jets, I figured I would let you know about that. So What's their first round pick?
Our first round pick, I think, is pick 15 or 16.
Oh, really?
Let's go check the 2023 mock draft right now.
I thought it was lower than that, but because didn't you guys end up 8 and 9?
Yeah, so it should be middle of the pack, surely. Top 18. I'm pretty sure. Go double check. The
If
Jets
it is, what
are.
would
Oh no, we're here 7 and 10. It's actually better than both of us thought. Pick number 13.
Yeah, I thought it was
Crazy.
lower than that, or lower than at least what you said.
Yeah.
What do you think they need? I think it's off. I think it's offense. I don't think you guys. Your defense is pretty freaking solid.
Defense is solid, right? Yeah. So I would probably say we've already addressed quarterback that it's a necessity. Actually, one thing I saw was Woody Johnson. You know Woody Johnson, right?
Oh yeah, of course. The former ambassador to the UK.
Yeah, and then he's the owner.
He's also the owner. I know the Jets.
Yeah. So he somebody asked him if he's willing to spend what it takes to upgrade a quarterback. He's like, absolutely. That's the missing piece. Focus on the words. That's the missing piece, right? He is not looking at anything else. He's like, the only thing I have on my mind right now is getting that fucking quarterback.
Yeah.
Getting that offense. And the Jets have had horrible history with the quarterbacks, right? Again, the last quarterback that took us that far was Mark Sanchez, right?
Right.
So, and even Mark Sanchez wasn't the greatest of quarterbacks. So,
no,
I'm thinking we get a Jimmy Garoppolo, we get a Derek Carr, we have to trade for Derek Carr, we'd have to trade for Lamar Jackson more than likely. They'll probably franchise tag him. We'll have to force a trade in there. They'd be stupid to franchise tag him. But I don't know how that's going to end up working with the Ravens. Aaron Rodgers was a consideration in trade I've seen, apparently.
Aaron Rodgers will not go to the Jets.
But he's not coming to the Jets. Plus, he's dating the daughter of the Milwaukee Bucks owner. So, I mean, he stayed in Milwaukee, right?
Dude, that guy goes to so many chicks. It's ridiculous.
He's crazy. This guy's a nut. He is insane.
Good for him. Because wasn't the last one something blue?
It was, I don't know. Actually, it might have been something like that. I know he did Shailene Woodley.
Yeah.
I think he was, what's it called?
And then Olivia Wilde or Olivia.
Something. The guy's been
quite a few
crazy.
Actresses. He's been through quite a few actresses.
100%. It is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like, they're going to, yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? So, if you had the pick of the litter of quarterbacks that are going to be free agents, so there's Derek Carr.
Oh, Derek Carr's going to be. You have to trade for him. I don't think he's a free agent.
No, they said.
Did they cut him?
No. Well, they could cut him because if he's on the roster after something like February 14th, like a few days after the Super Bowl, he's guaranteed $44 million. That's why they sat him down.
Oh, okay.
He also had an injury clause in there too. So if he got injured,
I did see that.
That automatically went over. So they're like, we're not making the playoffs. Fuck it, go home. Which I think is 100% disrespectful considering what Derek Carr has done for the Raiders.
He's been the only consistent piece to that Raiders organization for the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they could technically cut him. Let's see who else is. You mentioned Lamar Jackson.
5 hours ago, by the way, Derek Carr put out a big note saying goodbye to Raiders fans.
Yep, I saw that. And then, of course, you have your ex-quarterback, Geno Smith. And of course, you have Tom Brady. So, out of those, what is that? 6, 5?
Yeah.
Who do you think is a better fit, or maybe somebody that they could draft?
Okay, so let's break it down. Perfect world for the Jets. Number 13, we take another offensive lineman. Mekhi Becton comes back healthy and actually plays for the Jets. Right, this giant 6'8", 300-some-pound guy goes ahead and plays for the Jets. AVT. Elijah Vera Tucker comes back healthy. Breece Hall obviously probably won't be the exact same Breece Hall coming off of an ACL tear.
Right.
But he's at least projected to play at the start of the season, so that's a little bit of optimism there. Now it comes to quarterback. The best fit, the best player, hands down, even though he gets injured a lot, is Lamar Jackson. Why do I say that? Because I think Derek Carr is a little bit too loose of a cannon that I wouldn't really want to deal with, and he does not have the rushing upside of Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have the creatability of Lamar Jackson, right?
Yes, and like Zach Wilson is very religious. Not that that's a bad thing, but he's very
Yeah.
religious, and he'd be in, I would say, secular New York City.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not really the greatest stuff.
I
Yeah.
personally don't think it's a good fit for
Exactly.
Carr.
And the thing is, Derek Carr is Robert Saleh is a quote unquote man's man, right? He Derek Carr is a very, very emotional, heartwarming type of guy. It's not a good match with the head coach.
I agree.
Right.
100%.
And you want a more aggressive, like the way Lamar Jackson approaches the media, that's Saleh's type of guy, right? And Jimmy Garoppolo obviously is there too. He has some familiarity with Robert Saleh. They're probably on good terms. If they're on good terms, they'd probably go for Garoppolo. If they're not on good terms, then they wouldn't. But I don't think if we're gonna spend an extreme amount of money, that'd be Jimmy Garoppolo, who just again got out for the season, who's also been very injury prone. Difference between Jimmy Garoppolo and Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson definitely has more potential. He's definitely the better player, definitely the better runner, right? And you get more out of him by miles than Jimmy Garoppolo, who's just a game manager, essentially, right? A very good game manager at that, but just a game manager. And with LaFleur being, it's just I don't think we really have much for Jimmy G to be a reason we sign him. I would rather honestly take another shot at the draft and trade the number 13 pick and whatever else we have to give up to get that number 1 pick for the Bears and just go ahead and take whatever quarterback we can, which is obviously very unrealistic. But I would probably say
you would go with one of the kids coming out, Bryce Young or
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud. Both come from great programs. Both have history of not producing great quarterbacks coming out from at least to the NFL. I mean,
the Jets have a very bad history in developing quarterbacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct.
And I understand how outlandish it might seem. However, we saw Bryce Young, what he did to Kansas State, what Kansas State did to TCU. TCU was the best offense in the nation, is the best offense in the nation by far, with their backup quarterback essentially Max Duggan, who was the runner-up for the Heisman. And we saw what Georgia did to that offense, right?
Yep.
Look what CJ Stroud just did to that Georgia defense.
Yeah, that is true. No, again, I'd be very cautious with Ohio State as well as Alabama.
Also, by the way, that's CJ Stroud without Jackson Smith and Jigbo, a top 10 receiver coming into this draft. Top 10 pick, probably number 1 receiver coming to the draft.
Yeah, that's true. And the Jets have solid wide receivers. They're young, but
Garrett Wilson is, I mean, guy got 1,000 yards with Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco as a majority of his quarterback season, right? So
yeah, and Mike White, of course,
Yeah, Mike White was for 3 games and an injury game?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you think you would rather go young than sign Jimmy or Derek or one of the free agents?
I don't know about Derek. I want to see what we'd give him, but I'd probably would I rather have Derek than Jimmy G? I don't know. The thing is, Jimmy G is going to get hurt, but he doesn't offer anything good enough to be like, I'm willing to take on that injury history, right?
Yeah. I mean,
what can you say Jimmy G does very well than quote unquote game managing?
Throw the ball over the middle.
Yeah, definitely better than what we can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're very desperate, I'd say Jimmy G last option. It depends on what they'd ask for with that 13th pick to get that number 1 pick, but I honestly think we're just completely out of that whole young quarterback thing. So I'll scratch that. It's unrealistic. Lamar Jackson would be number 1, 100%. Of the other 2 that are Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like I'd have to go Jimmy Garoppolo just because he's more familiar with Robert Saleh and it's a better fit. And
all right.
Derek Carr last.
So with that being said, there are some, as we mentioned, a couple of free agents. Yeah. Where do you think the best fit is for Tom Brady?
Best fit? You want me to be honest with you?
Just go ahead and say the Miami Dolphins.
Yep. That's exactly what I thought. I'm not even joking. That's genuinely what I thought. Because it's perfect. If you guys get a big receiver with it, right? You get a fade route, red zone type of receiver. And somehow, which would cost a good amount of money, right? And it'd be pretty difficult, especially considering you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. We have some young guys that are pretty big. And Gesicki is huge, and I think Tom Brady would love Mike Gesicki.
Absolutely.
You got your offensive line, although with Tua was very kind of pretty poor, bottom of the pack, with Skylar Thompson and what's his name? Teddy Bridgewater.
They're-
3.5 seconds in the pocket, 3.3 seconds in the pocket. That's insane.
Yeah, that's a lot
And
of time.
that's against pretty good pass rushers, with the Jets defense being one of them. Very, very good pass rushers.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think you guys draft an O-lineman. You guys get Tom Brady. That'd be insane.
Well, we don't have any first round picks, so we'll have to get somebody.
Oh, yeah.
in
You
the
guys got
third.
screwed out of that one. You'd have to figure something out, right? But I think a good second rounder
Yeah.
would be pretty nice. Yeah, a good second rounder offensive lineman, 100%. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it would help Tua, because he would not. I mean, he could maybe take that year off, a gap
Yes.
year, to get his body and his mind. If I don't even know if that helps. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
But if he's had 2.5 concussions this year, I think it would be good for Tua to sit out probably a year, let Tom Brady play,
Yeah.
and see what we can do. All right, what
Maybe not
about
even just the health aspect of it, but like just to the mental side of the game? I do think he needs a little bit of improvement.
yeah, yeah,
But
I guess.
and it wouldn't hurt to sit behind Tom Brady for at least the mental aspect of a game, right?
Exactly. Okay, what do you think about Geno Smith? What's his best fit?
I think he's going to get paid by Seattle. I genuinely think Seattle's going to go ahead and pay him. I mean, he did fight his ass off to get that last game, especially with a poor start. The guy's he's looked good overall. I think he led the league in percentages.
Yep. saw that.
In passing percentage, and then or pass completion percentage, whatever it is, and then he also broke Russell Wilson's single season passing yard record in one starting season for Geno Smith. Where again, keep in mind the Seahawks were meant to be a top 3 pick for the draft this year, because that's their projection. They were projected to be super shit, but pretty good draft and a stellar season from Geno Smith, honestly.
I think their over under at the beginning of the season was 4 games.
Yeah, it was 4.5. Yep.
Yeah.
No, 5.5. But yeah, still,
It was
that's
low.
still crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I actually agree with that. I think Geno Smith should take a discount and stay there. I mean, discount, give you a break, 20 million. But still,
Yeah.
it's still
Of course.
20 million. All right.
Yeah, I mean, you had one insane season, but you had one insane season, right?
Right. I think I would give him a 2-year, $45 million deal with 20.
And that's very incentivizing for him.
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
I don't think he could say no to that, and I don't think they can say no to that.
Because I think
Although he probably might want long term, but yeah.
Yeah, but who's going to pick him up?
Exactly. For that
Tampa
long?
Bay?
No, 4 years.
Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
No.
Honestly, would I be
Texans?
surprised if
No.
the Jets wanted to? Would I be surprised if the Jets wanted to? No, I wouldn't be surprised. Geno, no way Geno would do that. No way he'd go back to the Jets.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
If I was a quarterback, if I was any of these quarterbacks, I'd stay away from the Jets. But
Yeah,
that's just my
honestly.
that's my my personal feelings. What about Lamar Jackson? You think he'll be a Raven next year?
I think it'd be stupid for him to be a Raven. I think it'd be stupid for the Ravens to keep him. I just don't see a reason for the Ravens to go back for him and him to go back. Like, it's just, what do they have to offer, right? You have Mark Andrews. What else? J.K. Dobbins has not been able to stay healthy a full season. Gus Edwards has not been able to stay healthy a full season. No receivers. And you don't really have the greatest pick in the draft. I mean, they're not even up in the top 18 in the draft right now.
No.
And they haven't been, notoriously great at drafting receivers either. They got Hollywood Brown, who's a very good wide receiver too, not a wide receiver 1, and they played him as wide receiver 1.
Right.
Their O-line isn't even the greatest. Like, they're starting to wear down an O-line. They did get rid of Orlando Brown, who is unbelievable for the Chiefs.
He's a free agent this year too, I think.
Yeah, and then here's the biggest part of it. You had this whole thing of him essentially begging you guys to pay him because he wanted to stay in Baltimore and he wanted to have the fans, he wanted to be that culture. He wanted to win one for Baltimore. What did you guys go ahead and do? You let it wait out the entirety of it, force him to play essentially on this last season. And now the threat of a franchise tag is there after you pay Roquan Smith going into the playoffs, the guy you just traded for, paid him $100 million, and you haven't paid your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, that's a sign. If I was Lamar, I'm like, I'm out.
I'm done, right?
I'm done. I wouldn't even play this game. And it's funny, and I think we talked about this yesterday. About 6 weeks ago, let's say 5 weeks to 6 weeks ago, on Twitter, I put somebody had mentioned Lamar Jackson and if he was going to play, and I said, I tweeted back, this isn't the exact words, but basically I said, I don't think he's going to play because of contract. And I got a shit ton of, you don't know what you're talking about. Lamar Jackson is not that kind of player. And I'm like, well, then he was supposed to be back in mid-December, and we are actually, no, I think beginning of December, and we're like
Mid-January.
We're like close to Christmas. Well, when I posted it on Twitter, it's close to Christmas, and he's not even practicing. And now we're January, 2 days before the wild card game against the Bengals, which is in his division, and he still hasn't practiced. So,
which is a huge sign of like he's more than likely not going to play.
Yeah. And even the other day, John Harbaugh said, "You know what? I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm not going to answer that question." Basically, I mean, that's not word for word, but he was like, you can tell he was annoyed.
Not like it's your starting QB or anything that you guys have been in very big contract disputes with.
Exactly. So where do you think he's going to land?
See, now it's tough.
Rumor has it he's from Miami and he wants to go back home.
And I also thought that was a very good fit. I think Miami needs to get Brady or Lamar. I think it's just a very solid fit for both. A very solid pocket QB who could very well manage that game, get the checkdowns. He throws a shitload of checkdowns, but he knows what he's doing with them at least. He knows how to read defenses almost better than anybody. And you give him Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, come on. And then obviously Mike
we'd be the fastest quarterback wide receiver group ever.
Lamar Jackson he throws the ball. He gets rid of the ball so quickly, right?
It would be quite fitting for Lamar Jackson to be a Miami Dolphin quarterback.
Exactly.
And the only reason I say that is, and you can ask anybody that knows me, I've been when he came into the league, I'm like, this guy isn't a quarterback. I hate his style. He's a run-first guy. He's amazing. He can run. 1,000 yards rushing. I like mobile quarterbacks. I don't like running quarterbacks. If running is your first option, I don't want you. So it would, like I said, it would be fitting that because of all the hate I put out into the world, the atmosphere, that Lamar Jackson ends up being a Dolphin quarterback.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I genuinely, like from the bottom of my heart, think that the best two fits for Lamar Jackson are the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
And the thing with the Dolphins, we just don't have the draft capital.
Yeah. So you'd have to pay somebody, right?
We'd have to either trade somebody or trade our 2024 first round pick. Because we have
that's if they franchise tag him.
Right, exactly. Well, they're gonna franchise tag him.
More than likely, right? $45 million. That's $45 million though. The thing is, if they franchise tag him to not trade him and they try to keep him, they have no money to give anybody else to help him out.
That's true.
No money, not the craziest draft cap, nothing. So what are you going to do if you're Baltimore? Just imprison a guy?
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. Lamar Jackson could end up a Texan.
Oh, that'd be tragic.
Well, I mean, they have the draft capital.
It just genuinely.
They have a number 2 pick. They can either pick up CJ or what's the kid from Alabama?
Bryce Young. It'll more than likely be CJ Stroud.
Right, exactly. So I mean that's where I see, because although no, they're not in the same division, but no, never mind. So yeah, that's where I see Lamar Jackson going, because they have the draft capital in order to make it happen. But we'll see.
You think they trade him to Houston?
Why would they care?
They
obviously don't think he's that great. They're not paying him. They don't think he's that great.
No, I can't see that happening.
Huh?
I don't know. You think Houston would give up the number 2 pick to go for Lamar Jackson right now and have nothing around him?
Well, they have Cooks. They have Pierce, the running back.
Well, Cooks is gone. Cooks is expecting to trade.
Yeah, that's right. He's expecting to trade. Well, if Lamar Jackson's there, maybe not.
Maybe not, yeah.
Maybe he stays. They're going to get
a new coach again. They also have the number 12 pick.
Yeah, so they have the draft capital to make it happen. Now, will that happen? I don't know, but I think if I'm Houston, I'm knock, knock. Hey, what's up, Baltimore? What are you doing?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Jimmy G. I think he's either going to be a Jet or a Buccaneer.
I think a Jet or I wouldn't say Patriot, just because I don't think Mac Jones is horrible. I think the OC is horrible.
Yep.
I don't think Mac Jones is great, but I like the Bucs are a pretty interesting one. Yeah.
And well, Derek Carr could go there too.
Yeah, I think the Bucs are a very interesting place for Derek Carr too.
Yeah.
A lot opens up at the QB position this season. I think this is going to be one of our greatest off seasons that we've seen ever, including with the draft, with the amount of free agents, especially at running back, the quarterback openings that we're going to have. So
Yeah,
the certain teams that need to have a certain piece or so, I think we're going to see some very interesting moves.
It's going to be fun for content. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the picks for Wild Card.
Oh.
Wild Card weekend. Let's see if Mr. Corey's done his research. Because
of course.
I believe in our head-to-head battle on your podcast, I'm up by 1, right? Overall?
Either up by 1 or tied, but you're probably more than likely up by 1, yes.
Yeah, I think I'm up by 1. I should be up by more, but that's a different discussion. All right, so what do you want to do it the normal way? Just kind of read them off?
Oh, you want to do – okay, we could do you want to do spreads?
Yeah, we could. You know what? It's playoffs. It doesn't matter about spread.
Pick them, right? Just
Let's do pick 'ems. And
all right.
So we'll start with Seattle, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. I think this is the end of the line for Seattle. You're coming into San Fran, right?
Yep.
Brock Purdy is the quarterback, granted. However, you go look at these are the concerns for Brock Purdy, right? He's a very, very young guy, hasn't really had any experience. But however, he's winning and it's one of the best rosters in the league around him, right? So you can't really attribute it to him too much, but he also has the understanding that it's not attributed to him too much. He has the understanding, and you can see it in his press, that I have one of the best rosters around me. I'm in one of the best systems around, like I could have possibly been into. It's a blessing, and I'm happy to be performing in it, and I'm happy to be behind Kyle Shanahan, behind Christian McCaffrey, behind Deebo Samuel, behind George Kittle, and behind this incredible offensive line system. He's been stellar. If you actually look at that 5-0 streak that Jimmy Garoppolo had with the Niners before, right after he got traded from the Patriots to them to end the season 5-0, and his first couple games with the Niners as well, Brock Purdy's stats are better. He doesn't turn the ball over nearly as much, although he's had a pick or so recently. The guy's a very solid quarterback. Genuinely, his intangibles are very solid, and the system helps it a billion times over. Right? I think this is a system versus other teams. System wins here.
So there's out of the how many games are there? 6?
Yeah, for this wild card.
I think every team has played each other at least once, and 3 teams have played each other twice.
Ravens, Bengals, Miami, Bills, and Niners, Seahawks.
Right. And I saw a stat, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. Well, it's happened 17 times since 1950s. And when they played each other twice, they won. The team that's won both games has won 67% of the time. So that little saying that everybody says on those TV shows, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in the same year. That's false, people. You heard that here first. So I think this is a really easy one. I think the Niners are by far the better team. Unless the Niners shit, Purdy chokes, he throws 3 interceptions. And they run one back on special teams and they get a pick 6. I just don't see how Seattle competes.
It's got to be like that Tennessee versus Jags game where like Josh Dobbs gets hit, fumbles it, goes right into the D-backs' hands, and they go ahead and score.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this has to happen for Seattle to win versus the Niners just be the Niners and they should beat them handily. All right, so we both agree the Niners and just for people that are listening, the spread as of now is 9.5 and the over/under is 41.
Yeah,
at a half. Excuse me. All right, I think this is the game of the week personally. Jacksonville versus Chargers.
I make sure I agree with this. Yeah, it's between that and another game, but yeah.
We have Jacksonville, who hasn't made the playoffs in a couple of years. Because remember, they went to the AFC Championship not too long ago.
They honestly should have made the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But
it's been a long time. Let's put it that way.
Blake Bortles, by the way.
Blake Bortles, exactly.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of bad seasons, and I think Lawrence is coming into his own. I think Herbert is highly overrated. Yes, he's 6'5". Yes, he's a 4.1 biology student. He went to Oregon. He's a duck. He can throw the ball a mile. But he reminds me of a quarterback called he used to play for the San Diego Chargers as well. Dan Fouts and Phillip Rivers. He
does not remind you of Phillip Rivers.
Yes,
Come
he does.
on.
Yeah. No, okay.
No.
Well, I'm not talking style. I'm talking about not able to win the big one.
Fair.
And again, he's only been in the league 3-4 years, just like Tua. I just think, he's broken records. He broke Dan Marino's records. Yes, they play 18.
Not just records, by the way. Every possible record for quarterbacks in the first 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, there's more games now, and
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
more.
fair
This
enough.
is more of a passing league. And I
100%,
will
yeah, it's definitely
I will die on this mountain. If Dan Marino was playing today, he would throw for 8,000 yards. Especially with with Waddle and Tyreek on both sides.
That'd be beautiful, wouldn't it? He'd love that.
Oh, dude, that would be Duper and Clayton all over again.
Look, I'd give Dan Marino, I think, the first 6,000 yard season, probably.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, 8,000s. I do that for the effect. Bottom line is, it would be 6,000-7,000 yards, especially in 18 games.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, with all that being said, I am picking the Jags.
Really?
Yes.
So my pick is actually very dependent upon the injury of one said Mike Williams, who, in your to your point, obviously Justin Herbert hasn't won anything in his first 3 years, of course, and he's getting these insane high up comparisons, right?
Right.
And how especially with the records he's broken. So it's like, he hasn't won anything. Why is he getting these comparisons? Of course, he's looked astounding. He's looked unbelievable. His stats and his record breaking is literally showcased for that. But it's the roster that he's been working with as well sometimes. The very banged up offensive line, the very banged up receiving core in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, who cannot seem to stay healthy at all. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler only playing a certain percentage of games together overall during throughout throughout Justin Herbert's tenure at the team, right? However, he's been very serviceable regardless. He's been inserviceable, obviously, is an understatement. My problem with it is Mike Williams got hurt. It's a lower back injury. He could possibly play on was it Saturday? Yeah. It's concerning to me that they say possibly. It's concerning to me that it's not a guarantee, right? It's not like he's 100% going to play, fully healthy. If you cannot say he's fully healthy, last time Mike Williams played and he wasn't fully healthy, we saw him get an ankle injury on the first play, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's Kansas City.
Exactly. It's concerning. The Jags, there's a Jags corner. I think he's top 7. I can't remember what his name was, but they have a very, very solid corner. Their defense plays amazingly at home, especially. They do have the home game.
Yep.
It's very, very concerning. I just think Justin Herbert gets his first playoff win here. If the Jags win, here are the constraints I'd have him on, though. I'd go coaching because Doug Peterson, I do think, is a better coach than Brandon Staley. I think Brandon Staley is an unbelievable defense coordinator. I think he's got the biggest balls in the league for sure. But Doug Peterson is unbelievable, right? He's a Super Bowl winning coach, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, he beat the fucking Patriots with Nick Foles. So the guy knows what he's doing, right? And he's got Trevor Lawrence, a generational talent at that, probably a top 5 quarterback in the league right now. No.
Wait, what was that?
Hey, I'm saying he has Trevor Lawrence, a generational quarterback right now, talent wise, and the top 5 quarterback in the league, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Top
10 guaranteed, right?
Top 10 guaranteed, absolutely.
Yeah. So very solid. Everything is essentially in play for Jaguars. I just think Justin Herbert and a healthy Chargers offense would be great. And they'd be able to compete. I think they end up winning this game, and he gets his first playoff win if Mike Williams is healthy. And on top of that, very huge notable here, Rashawn Slater is back practicing with the team. He's healthy now. Their best offensive lineman, him and Corey Linsley, obviously the center, I think.
Yep.
And he is not eligible to play this week. However, if they win, he goes to play next week. So very motivating, very interesting. I don't know. I like the Chargers here.
My belief is the Chargers lost this game last week.
Mike Williams going down?
With Williams, what's his name? The defensive end, the brother, Nick.
Oh my God, Joey Bosa went down?
Yeah, Bosa's hurt. They lost like 3 or 4 players in a game that they didn't need to win to get to the playoffs because the because Staley played those players too long.
And that was a horrible decision. I've been backing Staley for so long. Horrible decision there.
Exactly. And they played each other earlier in the year, and Jacksonville smoked them.
Yeah.
And that was not in Jacksonville. That was in L.A.
Yep, exactly.
So I think Jacksonville wins this. I think it'll be a close game. The line, as I see right now, is 2.5, and the over-under is 47.5. And if I was a betting man, which I am, I would do the over on that in a heartbeat.
Granted, for that Chargers game, his number one receiver was Josh Palmer.
Yeah, and Palmer's pretty decent.
He's pretty decent, yeah. But I think with
I'm sorry, the number one quarterback is there. Eckler was there. Come on, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Oh, come on. If Tyreek Hill and I mean, I'm not saying not in any way am I saying are Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle comparable to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are definitely better. But like if you were missing Tyreek Hill, it'd definitely be a big difference, right? Just Tyreek Hill. I'm not going to say both.
Of course.
Yeah, it's hard, but 38-10, not 38-10 hard.
Right, exactly. That's my point. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just very concerned with Jacksonville off of that last Tennessee game. We know Vrabel is very solid at shutting down very solid quarterbacks, but I mean,
it's a division game.
Yeah.
They always play each other hard. Tennessee is a great defensive team, a horrible offensive team. Yeah. It was really Lawrence's first game with playoff implications. He's got through that. And now I don't think he runs the table to the playoffs, but I know into the Super Bowl, but I think he wins this game.
Right here, right?
I think he wins this game. All right, here's the laugher of the game of the weekend. Dolphins versus Bills. Buffalo right now is 13 and over under is 43.5. So I think I have this little tidbit. This is the first time 2 7th-round quarterbacks from the same class, rookie quarterbacks, are starting a playoff game. That's unbelievable. Skylar Thompson for the Dolphins from Kentucky, and Purdy, and I think he went to Iowa State.
Purdy, yeah.
So I'm gonna double check that stat, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
It's more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is not a blowout like a lot of people. We played them extremely tough both times this year. One time I believe in Buffalo, we probably should have won that game. We made a couple of mistakes, and they got some really bad calls, pass interference calls towards the end of that game. Granted, we had Tua. This is Skylar Thompson's second start, and I'm hoping he starts and not Teddy Bridgewater, because Teddy Bridgewater he looks like he's stoned and doesn't give a shit. And, his arm isn't the strongest, and if your pinky's jacked up, that's not good. I think it's closer than everybody thinks it is. I think they win within the 13, the Bills, but I think the Bills win. It would be an absolute miracle. We'd have to have a Miami miracle to win this game, and we'll see. We'll see if Mike McDaniel is as good as Shanahan. Shanahan has a 7th-round pick, quarterback playing, the last pick of the draft. Mike McDaniel has a 7th-round quarterback playing. So the teams are, I think, evenly. I think you guys the Niners have a better defense. No, not even defensive line. Maybe a better offensive line. But I think in the skill positions, I think the Niners and the Dolphins are very similar. But again, I think Buffalo wins.
Yeah. Well, you made this comparison between Shanahan and Mike McDaniels, right?
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, do you have any sort of compare? If you were to rate, right, from A to F, essentially, A to F scale, Skylar Thompson and Brock Purdy, what would you put each at what?
I would put Purdy at B- and Skylar at D+.
Okay. I was making sure, right? Like,
no, I'm not throwing out Mike White as a top 15 quarterback. Bullshit.
Yeah. Look. Okay. I just feel like Mike White hasn't been given his opportunity as well. But what I will give you is every time he's been expected of something, he has not delivered.
Yep.
Right.
Both times in Buffalo.
Yeah, but obviously the last game the most recent one, at least, he was dealing with a rib injury and a very, very poor O-line that gave him 2.2 seconds in the pocket. But still, the fact he didn't deliver nonetheless, right?
Right.
Was it off of a couple technicalities? It was very weird. Yes. Could he get another chance? Yes. Would I want him to start and take the chance? Not with this team. This team needs to win, right? This team has way too good of an overall team to risk another quarterback situation.
All right. What's your pick of Dolphins and the Bills?
Bills. Yeah, it has to be Bills. Although Josh Allen's been very weird recently, been making very bad decisions recently as well. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I'm a Dolphin fan. It's hard for me to pick the Dolphins.
It's just different types of third string quarterbacks, and the system hasn't been developed at all in Miami that Mike McDaniels might want. But yeah,
I think if Skylar Thompson stops, if he just plays the game and stop pump faking all the time, because he feels like he's unsure of himself, like he doesn't want to make a mistake. And there was times last week against the Jets where the wide receivers were open, and he just, for some reason, wasn't letting it rip. So hopefully Dan Marino had a talk with him this week and said, hey, dude, if it's open, let it rip. If it's not open, rip it over. Trust your wide receivers. Let it rip. I'd rather him throw 6 interceptions than sit and get sacked 9 times.
Yep. Just let it go. You have those 2 receivers, just put it in the air.
Absolutely.
Especially late game, especially in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather lose 49-3 than 10-3 or 10.
Yep, because
13-10.
Then you were right there. We just wouldn't throw it.
Exactly. All right, next game. The New York Football Giants, Minnesota Vikings. As you know, all year I've been saying the Vikings are the most overrated first place team ever.
Hands down.
Then I think about the Pittsburgh Steelers 11-0. I'm like, they're pretty close. But
close there, yeah.
A lot of people that I've heard and talked to are looking at the Giants because of how they played against them in Minnesota just 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I got to believe the Vikings pulled this out.
You have to, right? I mean, The Giants are also, in our opinion, I think both of us have agreed on this, another fraudulent team that are in the playoffs right now. I think the Lions deserve to be there much more than them.
Yeah, I think the Vikings-Lions game would have been unbelievable.
Yeah, and the Giants got saved by that tie by Washington. Washington completely blew it. Had that tie not been there, Detroit would be in the playoffs right now.
Correct.
And I thought that would have been more interesting. I think the Lions actually would have beaten the Vikings. It would have been fun. I think all of America would have been behind the Detroit Lions. Except Minnesota, of course. I am also taking Minnesota here. This is a tale of 2 offenses, right? Both defenses are essentially nothing. The front line of the Giants is getting a little bit better, but the secondary for the Giants is absolutely horrible, and that's the best place for the Vikings to go against. Although Kirk Cousins, at any time apart from a 1 p.m. Eastern time game, is tragic, right? But Justin Jefferson isn't. And no one on that team is going to be able to touch him. Nobody on that team is going to be able to guard T.J. Hawkinson, Adam Thielen. And every bit of the run game that gets set up with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, it's just way too open. Kevin O'Connell is an amazing play caller. And I mean, he's giving Kirk Cousins a reason to throw the ball with Justin Jefferson. So with Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell, a lot of things can happen. And that horrible Giants defense, I think it's going to happen to them.
All right, so Minnesota's we're both picking Vikings. Minnesota is -3, and the over/under is 48.
Which I'm actually weirded out by that line. The books are very indecisive on it too. They want it to do 3. They want to do 3.5. You know they want to do 3.5.
Right. Yep. Well, again, the Vikings, I still think, are the most overrated first place team in 2022, 2023. So
they'll get their asses handed to them next round.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. All right. I think this one we probably will agree on. Ravens, Bengals. Although
hands down Bengals,
one of the Bengals offensive line is out this week, one of their better offensive line.
Yeah.
But I'm going to trust Burrow over Huntley or whoever else they're going to be starting.
Even if Lamar slightly plays, there is no motivation for him to play anything well, and he has no lineup to play behind either, right?
And it's the playoffs. He typically doesn't play well.
Yeah. Plus, you're very stupid for giving Roquan Smith money before the playoffs ends. He's still playing games for you, right? If this guy tears his ACL, you're not going to want to pay him $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, only 45 of it's guaranteed, I think.
Fair, yeah.
But that's still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to sign that deal. Sign me up right now. All right, so I think we're both Bengals. It's in Cincinnati. Although the Ravens they've played them pretty well this season. I trust Burrow and the Bengals more than I do Harbaugh and whoever's playing quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least, Cowboys, Buccaneers. They also played. I think it was the first game of this season, and the Buccaneers won. It's probably the best game they played all season. Buccaneers game one.
Yep. And it didn't look good either.
Yeah, they're 8-9. Remind me of the Seattle Seahawks many years back, where they were 7-9 and they made the playoffs. And guess what? They won their first game.
Believe it or not, yep.
Wasn't that the Romo?
I think it was
extra point.
Yeah,
failure.
I'm pretty sure it was that game.
Yeah. So let's go. You go first.
Look, there is a mental aspect to things, and people saying this Tom Brady being 7-0 against the Cowboys or whatever, is not a factor. I mean, come on. This not only is he 7-0 against the Cowboys, he's 2-0 against them in the last 2 years. With that same exact roster, with the same people there, with CeeDee Lamb there, with Zeke there, with Tony Pollard there, with Dak Prescott there. Most importantly, Dak Prescott being the one that's there. The Dak Prescott that's been throwing an interception every single game in the past 7 games, at least one interception in each of those games. The Dak Prescott that the one big game he's had this season was against what? The Washington Commanders, that he could have potentially secured the division had the Eagles lost, potentially secured the entire conference had the Eagles lost and given themselves a bye week. Horrible showcasing against Washington. Lost and got outperformed by Sam Howell's first game of the season, right?
Yeah.
And Sam Howell was playing against a much tougher defense than Dak Prescott was playing against. And you got to always note that, by the way, at almost every single game Dak Prescott's going to be playing in, apart from maybe a Niners game, apart from maybe an Eagles game. And I'll even throw apart from even a Jets game, just because the Jets defense has held an incredible amount of teams to 20 points or under, right? Especially with how long they've had to be on the field and how many horrible possessions they've been forced into, like on their side of the field, right?
Right.
So maybe you can consider those, even the Jets, as a better defense than the Cowboys defense. Dak Prescott's almost always playing a defense worse than what his opponent is playing, right?
Yep.
And he's getting paid $40 million a year. There is a mental aspect to this. There is a mental aspect coming off of Jerry Jones needing to say, oh, Dak's my guy. Or it's in Dak's DNA to not turn over the ball. The fact that he even mentioned turnovers at all when talking about Dak Prescott after the 7 straight games of turnovers. He's had a horrible fumbling issue before, got that situated, and instead replaced it with interceptions. And you give this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense 2 takeaways, you're losing this game. You leave it down to the last drive, you're losing this game. You leave it down to Dak Prescott or leave it down to Tom Brady, the Cowboys losing this game. I think there are so many situations where the Cowboys lose this game because of Dak Prescott, because of that management by him. Of course, I just don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
I think the Cowboys lose this game.
Yeah.
In Tampa.
Yeah, it's in Tampa. Dak Prescott has, 2-3 pick sixes over the last 4 weeks?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the stats. This is the first one. This is the first game I'm looking at the stats. They, on offense, the only one they beat the only stat the Buccaneers beat them is passing yards. Passing yards average is 279 for the Bucs, and 230 for the Cowboys. The Cowboys win everything else: total yards, points scored, rushing yards, third downs, time of possession. Even on the defensive side, they pretty much own everything. Yeah. And if you believe Tom Brady on his podcast said that this is the first time they've been almost 100% healthy, both on offense and defense, and that says a lot for their 8-9 record. You already mentioned Brady 7-0 against the Cowboys, 2-0 in the last 2 years. It's hard for me to trust the Cowboys, and it's hard for me not to bet on Tom Brady.
Of course.
So I'm going with
the ultimate sports thing, right? Bet on Braun, bet on Brady.
Right. I'm with the Bucks on this one too. And let's see, what's the over on this one?
The spread, I think, is 2.5, 3.
Yeah, Dallas is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's on the road.
That's on the road.
So that means they're saying Dallas. Yeah, exactly. That's insane. Now here's the thing: that 2-0 that they are against them, that Brady is against the Cowboys, and this Bucks team is against the Cowboys in the last 2 years. It's not that; it's just Brady 2-0. It's this Bucks team is 2-0 against the Cowboys, not just the Cowboys. This Cowboys team, not just this Cowboys team. Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs and Dak Prescott
and Zeke and Pollard,
and Zach Pollard, Zeke Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, like everyone there. Yes,
the only one gone is Cooper.
Exactly, Amari Cooper. Exactly, and most importantly, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the show. If you want to find out more about Corey, you can find him on Twitter and Discord under Bondcore Sports. Make sure you visit our sponsors, Undefeated Live, on your favorite app store. Before you leave, let me tell you about one of my favorite sports quotes by Billie Jean King. Champions keep playing until they get it right. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
All I see is money, 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 money. Yeah. All I see is money, 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 money.